Welcome to the Cultivating Success podcast. Jeff Sophir and Jonathan Wolfson are brothers and business partners of the top landscaping company, Nature's Experts. Nature's Experts is home to 6 companies that cater to all your outdoor needs. To learn more about Jeff and Jonathan, simply visit us at www.naturesexperts.com. On the podcast, Jeff and Jonathan bring together other business owners and entrepreneurs to share with you how they developed a prosperous company and how you can too. You will gain insights and meaningful advice on creating the building blocks to success and longevity in the entrepreneurial realm. And now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sophir and Jonathan Wolfson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cultivating Success podcast. We have a very special treat. I got to know him just a little bit ago here. We have Austyn with Lucky Landscaping, who is 20 years old, who is setting the world on fire as far as I'm concerned. With his landscaping company in Jupiter. And I'm really excited to learn more about how he got started and how he grew his business so quickly to where it is today at 20 years old. It's unbelievable. He's certainly way farther ahead than I was at that age. But I'm sure he's extremely ambitious and has a long way to go. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's it's always a pleasure to talk with people, that are like-minded and have successful companies as well.
Of course, it's not at that age, because I wasn't even started still at that age. But in my younger years, really all that I did was I really kind of emulated it first. Like the first thing I would just look and be like, oh, this company is doing things like this. I feel like I noticed their trucks. I feel like I noticed their advertising. Oh, this is what their advertising looks like. And that's really kind of what got me starting to be more engaged until I really started to kind of take off in my own really personal path of the business and kind of understand what the direction is. Yeah. So Austyn, tell me, what is the direction of your company? Where are you guys looking to grow? And tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, so I think, it's the start, it goes back to, when I was 8 or 9, I just wanted to make some money around the neighborhood. And, I started with a backpack blower blowing driveways and, a lot of $5 blowing driveways, and led into, buying more equipment and eventually, getting into cutting grass, and after that, it led into just more and more opportunities. And as long as you know how to do some marketing, I guess everything else follows, and be true to your word on what you tell people. So, when I slowly grew it in my neighborhood, and I think when I was 13 or 14, I bought a golf cart, kind of expanded my radius a little bit farther then, until the police in Jupiter didn't quite like that idea. So they put that to an end. Then when I was 15, I bought my first truck, and I hired a driver that was working for another company, and he worked for me Friday, Saturdays, and we slowly built it from that. So once I got a truck and one employee at that point, it kind of grew the radius. We started picking up, jobs farther out in other neighborhoods, and really expanded that way. And eventually it came time to where we couldn't do much more on a Friday, Saturday, and possibly Sunday. So it came to, I needed a full-time guy. So I started with one full-time guy 5 days a week. And it was a lot of work for him, but I think he saw the vision, and, we slowly, we built it from there. And, one truck leads to 2, and vice versa. And then we slowly trickled into the commercial aspect. And, that's, I think, where we really found, our bread and butter on the commercial side of, becoming, the client's partner, and really specializing and maximizing, the relationship of becoming their one-stop shop and performing the maintenance and tree trimming and all that.
So let's go over that obstacle right there. So I think, a lot of people definitely have a problem with either just starting or knowing how to get into a certain market. And the thing is that you went from obviously someone who's a young man who's going out there and who's aggressive, and you definitely can get business, but changing from that into the commercial side where you have to demand the respect and the ability. How did you really navigate that at such a young age, and still now? Because you're 20 years old right now, you have 30 people, which that's a whole other thing we need to get into as far as management. And, how did you really get that respect and, trust from the customer that you were capable of doing the job at the time?
Yeah. So it's funny you touch on that, because my first commercial client, I guess I had it close to 5 years now. And it's funny because when I met with them, I couldn't even drive. So I had somebody drive me there. Of course, it's like nothing like the owner getting out of the passenger seat and going to meet the board at a property to
Yeah, of course, right?
and the funny part of that one is they didn't hire me, and they said, we felt you were too young. And well, sure enough, 6 months later, or not even 6 months later, I get a call from them, and I'm following up. I think they had me do flowers, and they tried to trickle me in or whatnot. And 6 months later, they called me up and they said, hey, we hired Jose and he's not doing good. Can you start next week? I'm like, well, sure, I'll be there next week. And so we started it the following week, and we still have that client with us today. So, that's, if I met with them before I could drive, yeah, it's, 4 to 5 years ago. So,
I think a good point of that to kind of put some perspective to it of, so what size commercial customer was it that you really started, your very first commercial customer? So how much was it a month and how much time did it take to do?
Yeah, so that was it was like a townhome style community over in PJ National. And I think at the time it was about, I'm gonna say it's probably about a $35,000 a year contract. So, $3,000 a month or so, plus the enhancements on it. So, it was a small client, but I would say that was a good portfolio one to have, to say, oh, now we, at the time it was like, oh, the greatest. Oh, I do a neighborhood in PJ National, and
Or it's right.
Exactly. It's like, oh, it's a reference piece, but I think that's really the biggest part when you get into the commercials. You have to build the reference list, right? I mean, everybody wants to know, what do you do? Where do you do it? How do you do it? And they want to see stuff, they want to see what you put your name on. And that's why, we're really fond of providing quality work and protecting our name, because as I tell every one of our teammates is we only have one name, and it takes months to take a client and seconds to lose one. And if we do bad work, it's going to ruin our name. But it also goes back to, you have to make sure you're bidding a scope that you can provide good work and make the customer happy. They might want bare minimum, but we're not going to put our name on bare minimum because we can't use that as a reference. So to us, it provides no value, and we're very fond on, we're going to give you the scope we know is going to work for your property, and that's what we're going to stick to.
That's something that definitely has changed over the last few years. In my experience, is that it definitely was an extreme race to the bottom for a very, very long time. And it was definitely that the board members would actually be like, hey, Austyn, so we were paying $35,000 last year. If you can do it for 34, we give you the job.
Yeah.
It literally would be like that pretty much every single year.
Yeah.
And it was like this unbelievable really phenomenon changed. That people like literally would just keep saying yes until it literally got to a point. Literally every single HOA was unhappy with their landscaper because no one actually gave them the service that they were supposed to get. So they started reducing fertilizer. They started reducing trimming. They started to reduce the scope of how much that they're weed eating, the amount of Roundup that they use. Like, people don't realize, like, you can, if you want good service, there's only one way to do it. And it literally should be insignificant, the difference in which the price should be if someone's performing all of the scopes.
Yeah. And I think, in the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, I think the market's really changed. And I think the easiest way I put it is that, look at home values that have, nearly doubled what they were 3 years ago. So all these newcomers in these neighborhoods, a neighborhood that for years was in the $500,000 ballpark of a house is now in the $1 million ballpark. The newcomers, which most neighborhoods have turned like 50%, people have ran off with the cash and moved somewhere else. So it's 50% of new people, and those new people that spend $1 million want $1 million landscape. So I think the scope and the expectation of the homeowners has dramatically increased in what they expect over the last 3 years with, rising home values and new people coming in.
I definitely agree. I mean, listen, I think shaking things up as far as in an industry can be, it's one of two options. It's either really good or it's really bad. And the thing is that two things have happened in our industry, particularly. There's obviously the rising of home values. And then there's particularly the other aspect of the first generation professional companies are now selling to bigger companies, or they're selling to other people. So there's kind of a transitioning of the guards of who's really handling and how people are handling business these days. because some people who were old school in business they would never raise the price. Like 5 years ago, I told you it was $30,000. It's still $30,000. And they just like figure just adding more money on top would equal making more money. And at the end of the day, they've been in the business for 20, 30 years and they were making money, but they really didn't know where they were making it from.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies, we've purchased a lot of companies, and I know that's for a fact. That's a lot of their perspective. They were just thinking, just keep adding money on top, keep adding money on top, keep adding on money on top, but not actually wanting to figure out, how much time should the account manager be there? How much fertilizer costs? How long does it take to put down, for the tree trimming? What equipment do you need? So on and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, I saw you just bought a new tree truck. You saw what the price tag was on that nowadays.
We've bought a few recently.
Yeah.
And but that's also good. To me, I'm not worried about the risk of the truck as much as I was back when I first started, because when I first started, it was much more competitive and the guys were much more aggressive. Even the people I know in the tree industry now, they're really not that aggressive. They're looking to replace what they lose. They're not looking to grow past where they're at, literally because of the price tag of these trucks. They're like, it's just not even worth it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not buying a new bucket truck because it literally costs $168,000.
Yeah.
But the thing is, to me, it's an opportunity. There are companies that are wanting to grow. You need to partner up with the right people, and you need to show your ability to do that. And our particular company, I don't really think to myself, oh my God, what's this company doing? What's that company doing anymore? I have to make sure I know what we want to do, because we're in a new territory now. We're not really doing anything else anyone has done. So I have to kind of be on my own little area now of like, where do we want to go? And how do we start directing everyone to go there specifically, because of our different network of companies, our different experts, our different professionals, our different layers of management, and so on and so forth. So it's really been a new struggle, at least for me, to kind of figure out, how do we actually get to the next step exactly, whether it's through organic growth, or whether it's through acquisition, or whether it's through partnership. There's just all different options that really just take a long time for everything really to play out to see what the best thing to do is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. And, I think like the best thing for anybody is, right, like stay in your own lane. If you're just going to follow the competition, well, the competition, they've captured the customer already. You're already behind them. So following them does you no good, and that's what, like, our thing is, if I followed you and you already had the customer, then what good does that do? It does you no good. So as long as you capture the customer, you don't have to worry about your competition, because you've already beat them to it.
Well, for me in the beginning, it wasn't really about following them to the customer. There's a million customers.
Yeah.
Totally irrelevant on that part. It's really just how they're doing things. So like, I was very interested in whenever there was site meetings with other tree company or landscaping companies to see what these people are like. The more I would see them, I'd be like, I don't understand why they like them. And a lot of it was just their references and the fact that they were the first ones that were doing it. Some of our competition as far as these tree companies, like I said, we're literally the original tree companies in South Florida. So it's like people that were, in these larger HOAs are older. So they literally know these tree companies for the last 20 or 30, 40 years.
And that's all they've seen,
So now everyone is seeing our trucks. So it's for us, we aggressively got into these places, but now people are actually visually seeing us. So we're getting a lot more attention now to even just get more opportunities. So it's, finally hit that point now where we're actually getting the opportunities versus having to chase them quite as much.
Yeah.
So what is the next step for you? So you're 20 years old, still can't buy beer yet. And you could definitely vote right now.
Yeah.
So what's the next step? So I want to know next is, how did you earn the respect from before your license and your first HOA customer to 20 years old to have the respect of 30 men, women, professionals that work for you right now? What was your secret?
It's really, right, like we came into the marketplace and we made a small hit, and people started seeing us, and guys talk, and it's just, the labor force is a small market up here in Jupiter. I mean, there's only so many guys, a bad name goes a far way, and a good name goes a far way. So, if you take care of them, it'll spread. They'll bring their friends and family as well. And that's really the trick to our labor is, the friends and family that we, encourage to come in and build our team. But it's really, we've got top of the line equipment, and equipment just gets the job done, but they like coming to a place that they can be proud of. If you're driving new trucks versus, stuff that's falling apart down the road, or your lights don't work, or you've got bald tires. And
this is the struggle of a young man, because I had the exact same issue, and I had the exact same mindset where I was like, listen, you have to do things that are unusual. So you have to work more, you have to care more, you have to have nicer equipment, you have to treat the guys nicer, because why are they going to want to work for a young man versus working for, not that they're better companies, but like, the optics of people, like I said, you're just seeing around like, oh, I've seen this company forever, I'm going to go work for them. So it's like, you have to literally make an oasis to attract people. Like it's really the only way to do it. Right.
Yeah. And I think right from the front, everybody sees the trucks. They all see the equipment on the roads. And while I hate to use that as why you come work for us, because it really doesn't matter, but that's really the forefront of what people see of, oh, wow, look at Lucky, they got another new truck, and I think, like last year we bought 7 or 8 trucks. I think we buy everything new. So, we've got a really nice fleet. Everything's branded. You can definitely see us coming down the road. And I think that's really gotten a lot of attention, and the employee atmosphere. We've done very good retaining a lot of our labor. My thing is too, like, I would rather pay them well and have less turnover. I think turnover is the biggest production killer out in the field that you could possibly have. You can cut out all the fat, but you can't force somebody to know a property quicker. So there's only so much you can do that you can control, and then it's on the labor force, So that's what we've really emphasized is we train to retain. And when we train somebody on a site, you're going to have the same crew there every week because they know the site. They know all the ins and outs, the tricks and whatnot. And that really, the customers love it as well.
Well, I'm certainly talking to a real professional here, and I literally can't believe my eyes, and I'm super impressed with just, your way of talking about things and how they're really very spot on. So I'd like to know next then, so what is the next step? So the thing is that, so how much in sales are you doing currently right now with your 30 employees?
So this year we'll probably do between 4 and 5 million in sales.
That is absolutely amazing. And you are the actual owner. You own it 100%. It's only you. Amazing.
Yeah.
So what is next exactly? Are you wanting to grow? Are you only working in Jupiter? How far do you travel? Like, what's in the next 5 years that you're wanting to accomplish?
Yeah, I think, right now we try to keep it from, Southern Boulevard North, and we've got some stuff up on Hutchinson Island, but that's the very tip we go. But I think really what we're trying to do is grow, locally in a local marketplace rather than travel. I think there's a lot of work within 5 miles from our shop in Jupiter, and I think we would really like to just capture market, locally rather than, I think it's a benefit for us, benefit for the customer, right? We can provide a better service, a faster response time to emergencies, and stuff like that. We've got some HOAs and irrigation valves that get stuck on, middle of the night, and they'll call, and we'll go respond and take care of them. I think we can really improve it, and it's faster response time, local. And like I tell all our clients in meetings, look, we shop, we dine, and we play in the same places, and I don't want to see you out at a restaurant and you say, oh, that's Lucky, he's the guy that does terrible work in our neighborhood. And that's what I tell everybody is, look, it's a local community, and it's so small that I don't want to run into you and you not like me, out in the public.
Of course.
This is my, I grew up here, and a lot of people know me, and I don't want to be, you only have one reputation, one name. And that's what I really emphasize.
So I definitely think that is the right strategy for you. And the reason why also too is, at a certain point in my career, I was like, I wonder, is a company more valuable if it has more offices and more territories? What is your guess?
I disagree with it because with the more locations, I tried to go farther south, but it's
so the question is a company more valuable if it has more locations?
I would disagree.
It does not. It is not more valuable. It only matters your gross and your net. That's it.
Correct.
So I think that you are definitely on the right path in general to literally keep focusing on your growth and increase your net. And obviously your net can obviously be increased significantly by obviously staying in a tighter radius.
Yeah.
And I think you are definitely on the right path, and you're definitely in a great area for opportunity. So do you think that, so in the next 5 years, let's put it out there. What are you looking to do? How much business do you want to do? And do you want to go north of Jupiter, or do you want to go south of Jupiter?
I mean, I think, we're really going to emphasize this Jupiter as the main centerpiece, but I mean, I think north, there's a lot of opportunity. It's a very competitive market with not as many bigger companies. And I think it's going to be years before that market gets corrected up in the Stewart, Port St. Lucie area. I think just because it's a harder market, just I see with low bids and whatnot. And, when we go in, we bid stuff correctly. If I'm going to propose something, I'm going to make sure I can deliver. But I think the next 5 years, I mean, we're going to continue to grow, controlled growth. I mean, we've got a stack of contracts we could take if I drop my numbers, but I'm not the guy that, you're not going to tell me where my number needs to be, and there's a reason why you're asking me to come and bid your property, so, and if it's just because you want to bid, then you don't need me, because I'm not going to be your lowest bid, so it's really strategic growth. We're going to grow quick if there's a lot of opportunity. And if there's not, then I'm not too worried, but really I want to grow, provide more opportunities to, our team members, and create room for advancement within our organization to, really promote within for our team members. And that's really our key goal. I mean, a lot of our production managers and whatnot, I mean, they've all stepped up. I know maintenance operations production manager, he's been with me 4 years. I mean, he's seen it when it was me and 2 guys on a truck, and we'd go out and I'd have to go and help him because somebody would be out, and so it's really
been with you that long, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah,
How old is he actually?
I think he's like 30 now, 31. So he started when he was 27, 28. So, and then we've got
so great, honestly. It's like literally it's inspiring to me that I have a son and a daughter, but I'm like, boy, man, I hope they're that aggressive, because that's really, it's unbelievable. Like get out there and literally nothing's going to stop you, which is extremely important, especially in business, that you really have the persistence and the discipline and the foresight to just know what you need to do. And, looking at your particular situation, I think your plan is absolutely bulletproof. I think that the only thing that you need to look at particularly is that, you want to make sure that you have big aspirations,
Yeah.
And I think that your answer is bulletproof. It means that you're not going to make any unsound decisions. It means that you're not going to cut off your nose to spite your face. You're not going to make any, you don't have to conform to other people.
Yeah.
But it is really important. That I've helped me as far as kind of visualizing exactly what you want to, where you want to actually be. And it doesn't mean you actually need to actually go after that area specifically, but it is interesting how it does definitely unlock your mind in general to what you actually want to do. And you start kind of envisioning that, because, for our business particularly, I've definitely started to envision more of what the actual goal is within our team and how we want to help them. And then outside of it, how we actually want to grow the business. And it's an idea. It's not like it has to actually happen that way. You know what I mean? Like your actual concepts of how you think about your business are bulletproof, right? But it's extremely important though, to make sure that you are constantly really stretching yourself to not just grow. Because I think you've got to do this many sales in this short period of time. Your ambitions are not small, right?
Yeah.
So it is, I think, even though you're only 20 years old, it's time for you really to start setting ambitions of where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. And it doesn't mean that you don't make any concessions, right? You don't change what you're doing, but you do open your mind in general to, like for me, as we've grown our company, to people, to like, for example, hiring people before you actually need them, for example. So if you want to have a company that is doing X amount in sales, you're going to need X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
So before you actually get there, you need X, Y, and Z. And do you know what happens? It means that you have to actually pay for X, Y, and Z. And it means that it's going to come out of your pocket for X, Y, and Z. but you know that you're going to get to where you actually want to be. So it's worth it because you know that you're going to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, creating the map to the tunnel, so. Yeah, I think another thing, like a lot of people, like on my perspective in the business is, I'm not top line driven. I'm really dedicated to providing the good work, and the money comes. I think if you chase the relationship and providing a good service, the money will follow. The money comes later, and just ensure that you're doing the right thing, and money follows.
Absolutely follows, for sure. The point I'm trying to make, so it's not, I definitely agree, you don't change from what your direction is. You definitely don't have to chase certain things. It creates just a negative habit of just trying, you feel like you have to get somewhere, but you have a steady growth that you've created, right?
Yeah.
You need to start not doing things different, but holding yourself to understand, like, this is the kind of business that I'm going to have at this point. Because also too, as you're hiring new management in, it's important that they understand where you're going also too. So it's exciting where you're at now, right? But like, why are people going to want to stay? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you still are 20. Listen, anyone who sits down with you would be like, holy crap, I can't believe you've done this.
I'm young enough to anyone could come and work for me and retire with me,
Well, but it's also making sure you're casting a net that's big enough for everyone to figure out how to grow and to figure out like a strategy, right? So the guy who's been with you for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So even for him, what's next? And the thing is like I said, it's sound business what you're saying right now to say, hey, we're not going to make any concessions. We're not going to probably be the lowest bid. We are going to provide the best work. These are all cornerstones of a successful operation that isn't like a lot of other people. But at the same time, like, are you figuring out internally in your organization, how does that person, besides you just giving him an increase to give him an increase, really understand that the growth of this business is really coupled with his trajectory as far as in this business also too?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, and I think that's something in 2023 that, we're going to start to build out the management and create that. I mean, I hate the word management because I think everyone has each other's back, so it's not like just because that's your job title is what you do, and that's one thing I push to everybody is, look, we're all each other's teammates, and I don't care what your title is or what your position is, we all help each other. And, but that's one thing that I think we're going to work on is really the infrastructure, to prepare for the growth and make sure that along the way, we don't sacrifice, quality or communication or anything like that.
That's why it's important to paint the actual picture of what you want to do and what we need. So what happens is you create different advocates with your team, right? If you're looking for an office manager with the accounting experience, if you're looking for a new accountant, if you're looking for a new field manager to do just estimates, if you're like whatever you're looking for, by putting it out there, literally helps create more ideas and concepts of actually finding those people, whether it's internally in your company or just understanding that this is actually now the need of your business. That's what I'm talking about, painting the picture of where you want to go. And if in 5 years you want to double your business, which would be reasonable, right? You've been in business for 5 years. So in the next 5 years, you want to double your business, right? It would be relatively at the same trajectory. I would think it probably might be more in 5 years because you've grown a lot more in the last few years. But, literally just painting that picture and going through an exercise with your team to say, listen, this is what we've done. We've done this. We know we're going to at least do this. So what does a $10 million company need? It needs this, 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 this. So we're going to eventually in a few years need a bigger office, or we have to have 2 offices. Which one do we want to do? We need to save a certain amount of money to either put down to buy a property or to rent a property. We are going to need probably 2 people in the office. We're going to need at least 3 different managers. If you get into the installation side, you're going to need somebody who's dedicated towards installation and enhancements versus that. Like, these are all different things that it's important to direct your ship where you want to go. Inside of our landscaping company and maintenance companies is a very big set of installations. So we have different components. So we have 2 different landscaping companies. We have Coastal Gardens and we have Diaz Brothers, and they both have designated landscape installation, maintenance, pickup, nurseries, etc., that go along with those actual businesses. And it's important too that if you're wanting to get into that, what is your strategy? At what point do you want to start getting into it and investing into that side of the business as far as estimating and takeoffs and relationships and all of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, I mean, creating the path, forward.
So another question for you and another suggestion is that myself, my brother's not here today, but I own the businesses with my brother. And we have divided and conquered throughout the years. We both have different personalities. We both have different things that we're good at. And that definitely is the reason that we've got to the point, where we're at in our professional career, is really because we both are good at different things. So something else that has really helped us particularly is we actually have gotten a business coach that we've used for the last 4 years now, that really kind of is a good sounding board of ideas and kind of helping to unlock your mind into moving forward as far as a certain way of thinking, because there is definitely having a business that does 5 million is much different than one that does 10, and then much different than that does 15 and then 20 and so on and so forth. And there are different tools in your tool belt that you really need to start understanding and having to operate a company like that. The thing is that it certainly is going to be singularly easier for you, that you're going to stay in Jupiter, you're going to stay close, you're going to stay aggressive, you're going to keep quality up, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to make things, I think, easier for you, but it's something that you should really consider, because, you need to surround yourself with someone who's going to ask you the right questions and hold you accountable, that understands where you're at and understands where you want to go, because it definitely is a constant motion of making sure, are you working towards these different goals? What are you doing now to get what you're wanting to do? What struggle are you working with this week? And then, because some of the internal employee problems, it's difficult you can't really talk to your friends. You're certainly on a different level, different playing field than your friends, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to your friends for advice, are you?
Nah. Trust me, I don't talk to many people my age. A lot of people I know are, industry people and whatnot, so it's really a whole nother ballpark that I'm in.
That's why I was suggesting, we have a business coach, and it's somebody who can grow with the business with you, right? So they have good business advice to give you. They have the tools and resources to help guide you, because a lot of work as a coach really is to not do for you, but it's to let you learn yourself, kind of, and then have them to ask you the appropriate questions for you to really answer it. Because it is really difficult. And listen, no one really can give you advice, because no one's really done what you've done, really. I mean, maybe they did 40 years ago when the landscaping industry started and everyone was 18 years old. But besides that, there really isn't that many people. And you are the very, very first person that I've met that is 20 years old that does $5 million in sales. I'm impressed. And I definitely have a lot more questions, and I would like to get to know you more to see, obviously, how you continue forward, because it's really impressive, the fact that you had all these skills, and, you're doing it by yourself pretty much, right?
Yeah.
You're just aggressive.
Yeah.
You're persistent, you're doing quality work. And this is exactly what word of mouth does. Word of mouth can take you this far, of literally just working hard, showing up, being responsive, and doing what you say and say what you mean. It's literally, those are the easiest things to do for everybody.
Yeah.
But now you're getting into business.
What you say. Yeah. So I mean, it's been a fun path,
The thing is, though, is you're really getting into real big business now, because you're probably making really good money right now. And I remember at that particular point, it was a turning point where you actually have to start, buying the trucks is inexpensive in the beginning, right? And buying the equipment is inexpensive, because they're all kind of one-time expenses. But when you start really developing your management and what the business needs for what the future is of the company, it becomes expensive, because in our industry, in the landscaping industry, labor is the most expensive thing that you have. Right. And there's no guarantee as far as management, what kind of value that they're going to bring. And it might require a lot of training or untraining of certain management to make sure that they do what the business needs to really perform an actual tangible function that's of value to really bring the company forward.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, that's one of the hardest parts of it. I mean, right? Like equipment's easy, right? It's you're making a payment every month on it or whatever, and you've got a hard asset, so in an emergency you could sell it. Well, now if you've been having a manager for 6 months that you don't like or isn't bringing value, you've got no value to get out of it. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think you've really got to be strategic in building the management and leadership team, just because it's got to be, I think, share the same mission and vision, the company.
So have you really defined out what your mission and your culture is of your company, or is that something that you just kind of, it's doing good work? Is it just something that you just more so just kind of repeat, like you said to me, or is it something you actually have that everyone kind of knows what the mission of the company is?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on defining it right now. I mean, like I said to you, is really what we live by and that we emphasize. But we're really working on building out a statement that showcases all of those. We can really be proud of and say and tell people.
It's one of those things as far as your mission statement. It's in the beginning stages. It's really more so for you. Like I said, these are things that you need to understand where you actually want to go, right? And, what do you want to accomplish? And what are things that are important to you? And it's not really exactly, I mean, listen, I think that it's extremely important to have core values and mission and vision and all of that kind of stuff in the beginning stages. And it doesn't seem like the beginning because you're doing $5 million, but it really is, because you can manage $5 million pretty much by yourself. If you're really smart and you're really willing to work hard, you can do it with pretty minimal help. It's probably you and then the one guy in the field, and you might have somebody part-time in the office, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, pretty spot on.
So the thing is that there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's low expenses.
Yeah, lean and nimble, but it's the going for growth. I think if we want to go to that $10 million mark, it's of course a toll on your bottom dollar or your bottom line, but I think it's the stepping stone to get there, and you've got to take bite the bullet at some point.
And you just have to try things. It's not really even something that you can, exactly put your finger on to think that it's going to work. You literally have to just try things and just realize that this is a business, and this business is going to keep growing. And it's not really about what you're making right this very second, but what it's going to be worth and what you're going to be making in the future. And like I said, you're spot on. You know what I mean? The trucks you can get rid of. The people, it's hard because if you invest time in people, then you start getting personally attached to these people, and then think to yourself, what the heck? I literally, put all this time into this person, and this is what they do to me. It becomes personally offensive. So there definitely has to be the different, vision of the different steps of how you're going to get out of different positions. So, for us, it was acquiring companies, and then strategically how we were operating those companies was different than our original company. And then we kept building from that. So where now we have like a management team of about 30 or 35 people that are just managers, that's really who I'm leading and guiding now, versus when I was in your position, I was doing the exact same thing. I was doing the accounting, I was doing some tree trimming, I was doing the phone calls, I was doing the estimates, I was doing the billing, I was writing the checks. And then we had a part-time person in the office, and I hired someone that I knew in the industry really well to do estimates. He had a little bit of business to bring on, but it certainly didn't justify his salary. So like that was a really big deal to me, because then it's like, I mean, me personally, this is how I feel. I know how to price jobs, right? And the thing is that when you do hundreds of jobs, if you charge $50, $100, $1,000 more, and it doesn't mean that you're overcharging the customer. It just means you're charging the right amount for the job because you'd be able to get the job. Like, it's really, that's a difficult stage to go through in itself or whatever, is because I know if I went out and I sold a job, and then one of our people that work for us as part of our team who does sales, if he sold the job, he might sell it for $9.95, but I know it's $12.95. And the customer wants our service, sees how professional we are, was referred by a friend, they would pay the same difference. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's really a hard part, that it took me a little while to get over, because you know what? We're wanting to develop a process. So developing that process is really expensive, because how do you replace how your gut feeling? You know what I mean? Some people tend to
And
round up.
everybody values the dollar differently, so I think sometimes people propose something and they think there's no way they're going to spend that, when their dollar, they value a dollar differently than you do, so it's getting that mentality out to people, I think, as well. And the sales side is, look, their dollar is different value than you think it is, just because you think it's too high, they may think it's low, so
Yep.
you don't know till you throw it out there. You can always go down, you can't go up.
That's for sure. But I think it's ultimately being confident in what something is worth. There are certain jobs, this is what it's worth. And I know what other people are going to do for the same work. And they actually might charge, like, for my situation, the $9.95 instead of the $12.95. There is extra value in the training and the process and the organization and the overall product, because they are different. Knowing what your company is capable of versus the majority of companies out there can be a significant difference in what actually the finished product looks like. So it really is conveying that to people so they really understand what is going to be the difference. And it's actually like a trust level of communication. So I definitely think that you're well on your way to really taking over, and you're really going to have a lot of success. Is there any questions you want to ask me while we're on the phone here?
No, I mean, I think it was a great interview. I mean, what are your guys' goals or future vision, I guess?
So we currently have 5 different businesses that we operate. We have Threckle Botanicals, which does interior plant maintenance. We have Sherlock Tree Company, that's our tree company. We have Diaz Brothers, landscaping and installations. Coastal Gardens, landscaping and installations, but only on Palm Beach Island. And we have Maximum Pest and Fertilization. We do $25 million a year in total sales between all the different companies. And our goal in the next 10 years is to double our company. And we have definitely made some strategic partners that will probably grow out of our area into like Orlando and Naples, and definitely up, along the coast as far as connecting to where we're at now. But it really just depends on the opportunity. We constantly we'll probably grow by acquisition. So I'd say for the company that we've purchased approximately half of the business that we do, and we've doubled the actual amount of business that we do. So to finish answering your question, I find it to be successful. We've purchased, we own all of the real estate that we're on for all of our companies. And we're probably going to continue to grow partially through acquisition, partially through buying real estate, and continuing to do it strategically based upon the relationships and the direction of our current customer base. So a lot of it is pointing towards the direction of going to Orlando, which is a lot of growth potential there. But we'll probably want to have some sort of foundation where we actually, purchase a tree and or landscaping company. It doesn't matter which one, that has great people, some management in place. And our overall process really has, I think, become very enticing to people. Where before, when it was me and my brother, it was like, oh, these guys are buying this business and, who knows what it's going to be like. So now it's a little bit different, because it's like, what, if we were going to buy Lucky's, I'd be like, listen, I'm going to meet with you, but I want you to meet some of our team. And you know what? You speak to them. Okay. This person's worked with us for a year. This one's worked with us for 5 years, so on and so forth. And just speak to them, see what they have to say. Right. And it really eliminates the buy-in period, because it's not like, oh, these guys are coming in to shake things up and they're going to run it completely different, and so on and so forth. The companies that we're buying, they do first-class work. And the thing is that some owners just don't know what to charge and the right price to charge, and you have to re-educate people on that. But it's not about making more money unfairly. It is, what does it take for a business? What's a fair profit? Everyone kind of knows what that is. And what is fair salaries for everybody? And how can we all grow together? If the company's not making the right amount of money, we all can't grow together. But everyone should really have skin in the game of, this is what's fair now. And as we continue to grow, this is what you can make then.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you.
So it was great having you on the show. What'd you say?
I said, anything else or
No.
anything else?
I think I really appreciate you joining us on the show today. I think this was amazing. I'm super impressed, and I am inspired today leaving this call, knowing that you are literally so close. We'll definitely have to get together sometime and continue to keep talking more, but I am really impressed, and I really wish you the best of luck in the future. Thank you for joining us so much today on the Cultivating Success podcast. Please let everyone know, where can they reach out to you if they want to, if they need your service, and or if they just want to reach out and speak to you. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, so they can find us online, at Lucky Landscaping, Instagram or Facebook. Or our number is 561-779-4127, and I'm always willing to help people out. I don't hide behind anything. I think, if you're open about everything and you're doing what you say, then there's nothing really to protect, so I'm pretty open about everything.
Coming from one honest man right there. So
yeah.
I appreciate you joining us today. I think it was awesome. And thanks again. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
This has been the Cultivating Success podcast with Jeff Sophir and Jonathan Wolfson. To learn more about Jeff and Jonathan and their businesses, visit www.naturesexperts.com.